Welcome to Conversations with Zaki Baruti, with your host Zaki Baruti. And like always, I want to give a shout out to my biological family, what's happening, to the Universal African Peoples Organization, what's going on, as well as to New Life Evangelistic Center family headed by Reverend Rice. Keep up the great work, and a shout out to our cameraman Bob. On that note, we'll have another great show because we're doing part 2 of a series with a history maker here in the state of Missouri. And that history maker is the first police chief of a municipality that is of Islamic faith. And I'm speaking none other than a good friend and colleague for many years, Brother Dennis McLean.
That's
did
okay.
it again.
Dennis Shireff.
Freudian slip.
Yes,
Dennis Shireff.
Yes.
Who formerly was Dennis McLean.
Correct. Right.
And Shireff, what does Dennis Shireff means? I know there's a transition.
Shireff, sheriff, peacekeeper.
Okay.
I was given that name by Sultan Muhammad, and he told me I was the Shireff. I was the law keeper. I was the peacekeeper.
Okay, the sheriff is in town.
So he said, this is your name, brother, because you won't stop. You're always talking about law enforcement and helping people.
Right.
And, you know, he talked about the law of abuse, the law of use and the law of abuse. How would you treat people? You know, you treat them by the law equally, the scales of justice. And when you deviate from that, it becomes a law of abuse, which you won't prosper or, gain any value by mistreating people. So this is what we believe in Islam as well. You know, Islam means law, peace, balance, love and respect, and honor those, your elders.
Now, as for the intro, I mentioned that for our audience, this is part 2 of a 2-part series as I interviewed Brother Dennis Shireff, the first police chief of Islamic faith. And in our first interview, you were sharing all of your negative encounters with some of your fellow police officers with the St. Louis Police Department, and that you have now been in law enforcement for over 35 years.
Yes.
And out of your struggle with the St. Louis Police Department, you transitioned from the St. Louis Police Department upon being terminated on some BS, I'm going to just say, because your outspokenness within the police department, to having a short stint with Pineline, working for Berkeley, and then becoming police chief, what you are presently now in what community?
Northwoods, the city of Northwoods.
Now, Northwoods, what is the population of Northwoods?
We have right under 4,000 citizens, and mainly, I would say 85% are elders. I love my elders.
Okay.
We have young people, middle-aged people, and then we have the young ones. And we're surrounded by the Normandy School District, which is good for me because I used to go in that school all the time and talk to the kids and talk about self-worth and loving self and loving others, but treating people with respect.
Now, in your community of first of all, how long have you been the police chief? I'm sorry.
Well, this is going on 7 months now. 7 months.
Yes. Okay. Then.
Yes.
Prior to police chief, what rank did you achieve within both the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department as well as Berkeley?
Throughout, I was a supervisor. With that stint, I put together that detective bureau in Pine Lawn, that short stint. And I was a supervisor then. And I was in the crime prevention unit for Berkeley, doing a little bit of detective stuff, but mainly on the street. Mainly, I love being on the street as well. And I still do it now as a police chief because I want hands-on. And that's what I'm working with our young officers and elder officers in our police department. You have to be able to communicate with the community and get to know them. There's no reason why in this municipality that you don't know the citizens.
Absolutely.
And you have to give them the utmost respect, especially our elders. I made it perfectly clear with our people. Get out of the car and sit down with them and talk to them and let them give you a little bit of history as to why you should treat other people even better and pass that word on. Each one, teach one is my concept. The more you learn, the better off you'll be at helping young people. And when you run into young people with these devious minds and the minds that are out of control through the music, through the video games, through the alcohol, through the synthetic drugs, they are caught up with mental illness. And mental illness, even their parents, it goes back throughout history. Mental illness through slavery has perpetuated itself all the way up until today. And that's one thing that I'm really focusing on, too, is bringing mental illness health to our community. And what better place to start in this African-American community, predominantly with our elders and with our young people, because we can focus on that by bringing sponsorship in there and getting people to sponsor this and really bringing the workshops about.
To that end, you preempt me for some questions I was going to have, because what I was going to ask of you, what is your philosophy going in as it relates to policing in the community? How do you see policing in the community? I know how you are, but I want you to share it with the audience, although you have touched upon it already. But before you respond to that question, you supervise how many officers?
I have 17.
17 officers.
That's a total
okay,
17,
then.
yes.
So going back to the question, so you see a hands-on, one element that I gather from your comments is that you see a hands-on approach to policing in the community instead of just in your patrol car, just driving to interact with the citizens. What else is your philosophy?
My other philosophy is that because of mental illness is at a high volume, and you have all these drugs that these young kids are taking, not only out on the street, but from the doctors and the medication that they give them to make it even worse, in my opinion, as far as how they act. We have to be able to identify mental illness just like you are drawing your weapon. You have a split-second decision to identify him, just like you have a split-second decision in making a decision on whether to shoot or not shoot. Mental illness, again, is horrific. And we have to work with our kids. My philosophy is bringing some of these youth in to meetings and sit at the round table like we're doing now and discuss some of the issues and the problems that they're having, because some of these kids are mentally disturbed through not eating right. Some of them are mentally disturbed by what's going on in the house as far as their parents, their mother.
Can you hold that thought?
Sure.
We got to take another break.
An epidemic of homelessness is sweeping throughout the United States of America. In city after city, people are ending up on the streets. Now, instead of feeling overwhelmed, as believers, we can do three things. We can give, we can volunteer, and we can pray. We can pray for the homeless refugees that we're finding in one city after another, all over the United States. So many people ending up out on the streets, and the hearts of so many are growing cold at this particular time and indifferent to the need. Jesus said, as oft as you've done it to the least of these, he said, even so you've done it unto me. When's the last time you've prayed for the homeless refugees in the United States of America, appearing in city after city, not only in major cities, but even smaller cities? So many people ending up out on the streets, even in resort areas, places you never think you'd find homeless people, they're there. Jesus said, foxes have holes and birds have nests, but he, the Son of Man, had nowhere to lay his head. Please pray for the refugees. Please pray for the homeless people in America. And pray for those that are on the front lines, the first responders, reaching out through Jesus Christ among the homeless and hurting, whether it's in Springfield or St. Louis. Your prayers and gifts to the New Life Evangelistic Center makes a big difference. This New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, is 63166.
Will you answer the call to purity and service? There are so many people who are hurting in this broken world, and you, as a Christian, can be a light and salt in the world today. By reading the Word of God, we realize that we should take trials and find joy in them, persevere, and win the crown of life at the end of the age. You can make a difference in another person's life by witnessing the gospel to them today. They need to hear it from you. Share your trials and your persecutions and the things that you're going through to build up a community of believers who strongly want to serve and honor God with everything that they have. By loving others in this way, you witness the gospel to them. You give them the ability to find salvation in Jesus Christ alone. Amen.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is Brother Dennis Shireff, who has made history by being the first Islamic police chief, and he's chief of the municipality of Northwoods. Yes. On the other side of the break, we were looking at your philosophy of policing, and you were speaking of the need to deal with mental illness. That is an extension of many reasons that we got so many mental ill people out here. Correct. Caused by this greater society.
Correct.
Which, by the way, our organization published a newspaper where we were examining the impact of some of this music on the minds of our young people that make them disrespect themselves and really have disrespect for others. And that's part of your philosophy. Instead of just pulling out your gun, shooting somebody who's out of order or beating them up, is that a fair assessment?
That's a fair assessment, and that's a true assessment. We have to be careful with how we deal with them, because if you don't recognize that, they may be, and next thing you know, now you're entangled in a problem. Because if somebody's yelling, "Hey, he's mentally ill," and you on level 10 and you're not hearing that, there's a problem. You should be able to assess and evaluate before you even make a decision of whatever you're going to do, whether you're going to arrest or get help medically. These are the things, and you're right, the music today brings about self-hatred. One, because the drums of Africa taught us we had several things that we'd use the drums for, whether we were getting married, whether we were celebrating a victory over something, whether there was death. The drums and the music stimulated our mind towards our God. Now the drums and the music today stimulates yourself over the sexual content and what's sexual and what's perverted, not about violence,
right.
Not about what our ancestors taught us about.
Now, with your philosophy, are you bringing that to your officers that's, you supervise? How are you, because many of them for many years have had a certain way of thinking and reacting to people. So how you...
Right, you have to redirect their thinking now, but I have to also keep in mind that too much milk, too much knowledge and too much information can cause an overload. Not enough can cause a miscalculation, but it has to be given to them just right. So I just take my time little by little and talk more and in the streets with them. A lot of the times I'm on the street and I have them saying, "Hey, a chief's not supposed to be in the street." I don't know where you get that from. I'm in the streets talking to the citizens, and I'm trying to lead by example. That's my main thing. My main goal is to lead by example. Leaders don't make excuses for others. They lead. When there's a problem, he fixes the problem. If he can't fix the problem, he finds ways to come back and fix the problem, and don't just leave it lingering.
Now, one of the issues, you hear about the movement defund the police, as well as having the police, instead of just having police have mental care advocates, sometimes answering some of the calls instead of the police department. But there's a real reality of crime that does impact our communities. That's just a reality that needs to be. And in some form or fashion, I think that we all have been victims of crime. I personally have been a victim. I have had a pistol at my head by a young brother saying, and another one saying, "Shoot him." That was back in '89. By the grace of God, I'm still here.
Yes.
But you have, your family has also been victimized by crime. Am I correct?
Yes. My son was murdered in March 25th of 2020.
So obviously that has not made you bitter to have I'm going to shoot everybody and arrest anybody that act any way crazy. Is that
No, because Islam teaches, it doesn't teach that, it teaches peace. And when a person kills another person unjustly, the sins of that person my son goes to the person that did the crime. So I'm not angry with his family at all. As a matter of fact, his sister came to the police station, and I met her, and she was humble, but she was upset because she was worried about me being a chief in my position and me being a Muslim when she found out that I was a Muslim. I think she was more concerned with my reaction towards her brother, who was found guilty of the crime of murdering my son. He was one of them, and there's still two out there. But I told her that, you know, you can't speak for your brother. Your brother has to identify what he did and live up to the fact that he did it and change the perception of how he treats his own brothers. Because as far as we know, we might be related. You know, there was so much going on in Africa, and, you know, they were transferring fathers and making them have babies with other parents. I mean, I'm positive we're somewhat related. And when I told her to look at yourself in the mirror, what do you see? When I look in the mirror, what do I see? I see you and you see me. We see each other. I'm not angry with you. And she left with an understanding that, you know, love has to conquer all of this foolishness. We've gotten away from that. The number one killer of us is family. We have no family at home. All this has to be brought into play when you're talking about policing. This is what we have to present to young people. We have to present love. And in the process of talking about love to them, I'm going to be teaching a crime scene investigation. I'm going to be teaching, you know, you don't have to snitch this way, but you can talk and tell this way. This is how you get people, young people, to start respecting law again. You know, when I tell these officers, if a brother and a sister has a problem and their car ain't fixed, you know, you don't write them 30 tickets. I mean, one is suffice, you know, and then you explain to them why. They get a better understanding. But if you go in there writing tickets, you don't give them a reason why, guess what the outcome's going to be? They're angry with you. Right. I just had a guy the other day, he was angry. His car set up for 3 weeks on flats and no plates. He was angry with me because I said, if you didn't fix it, I'm going to tow it. Well, why are you going to tow it? Because you didn't fix it. Well, it's my car. Well, people in the community want better. We want our community to look like suburban communities. We want our people to feel safe. We don't want to see this in our communities. And then he understood. He says, man, you're right. I said, so I can't go in your house and do what I want to, can I? No. I said, okay, you can't do what you want to in a community that pays taxes.
Okay, on that note, we're going to take another break.
I want to thank God for each and every one of you that are supporting NLEC TV, the work of the New Life Evangelistic Center, and making it all possible so we can have conversations with Zaki on the air along with the other programming that's on NLEC TV. Not only we discover that at 24.2, but I actually watch it on my cell phone at a very special app that we have of NLEC TV, and you can just pull it up. It's so easy that everybody can watch it anywhere. So wherever I travel, I can be watching this program and other programs. Now, all this is possible only because of caring people like you that are sharing those much-needed tax-deductible gifts at this time with the New Life Evangelistic Center. We have a lot of things that are unfolding at this moment. We're continuing to help multitudes of people, not only throughout Mid-America, but as far away as India and Africa and other locations around the world. And we really do need your help. After they closed down 1411 Locust, we're continuing to help the homeless directly out on the streets every week. We're out in the mayor's window distributing bus tickets and other direct supplies. We have regular events out in front of 1411 Locust, and we're working actually through the legal, the mediation, the advocacy, and getting prayer warriors to pray that we can reopen 1411 Locust in the near future. But we need your involvement at this particular moment. And your gifts to the New Life Evangelistic Center make such a big difference. You can send that to P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, that's 63166, or you can give online through the PayPal system at newlifeevangelisticcenter.org or NLEC STL. I ask you to continue to stand with us right now as we continue to bring many programs like Conversation with Zaki to you, but we need your help.
How important are St. Louis Metro passes to the needy? To provide stability and permanent change to the homeless, they need jobs. But how do they get transportation to look for work when they have no money? And when they find a job, how will they get there? Become a part of NLEC's Metropass program and help bring enduring change to a life.
I have doctor's appointments that I have to attend, going to seek jobs and putting in applications. I really would like you to understand the importance and the need for this ministry. And anything that you can do to keep this ministry going, please know that it is an extension of God's love.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is my good friend, colleague, who's now a history maker in the city of Northwoods, my good brother, Dennis Shireff. Brother Dennis, on the other side, you were touching my heart in terms of the approach of policing, you know, that should be. But, you know, one of the things, too, that, you know, as a longtime advocate and critic of police departments, as an organization, we maintain that every police department ought to, first of all, reflect the ethnicity of the community, the racial composition, and the ethnicity of the community in which they work. Secondly, that police officer ought to live in the community that they serve. And third, that there ought to be effective civilian review boards with subpoena powers. Your thoughts and reflections on what I just said?
I believe that when you have 10 white officers in a 10 black community, you have problems. If they aren't culturally diversified to understand that community, I see a problem. I think that it should.
In fact, if I can interject, I always use this example. You know, at the height of the Ferguson uprising, we pointed out very vividly that Ferguson was 68% black, yet you had a police force of 53 members and only 3 were black, disproportionately.
It was a disproportionate figure.
Right.
You have to have the majority of people in that community, because even today as we speak, those county police departments, you have the majority white in the white communities. In the jury, you have the majority white in the jury of their peers, but we don't have the jury of our peers. We have to really, really look at those issues. I give an example of a good illustration of hog. You know, when you're talking about hog, you know, even in the testing process to get in the police department that denies black people the right to participate and be police officers, they give a test that is biased because it's made by them. So if it's made by all whites, then how can a black have a chance who comes from an urban area? Example, a hog, A, Cadillac, B, a motorcycle, Harley Davidson, C, a pig, D, all these above. I can play games with that all day long, you know. The black guy is going to think it's a Cadillac. White guy going to think it's, you know, a Harley Davidson. Another guy might think it's a hog, or it can be all above. These are the type of things that keep upward mobility for blacks to get into the police department. So in order to change that, and that's why so many blacks in the Ethical Society and the National Black Police Association are fighting to have the diversity in the hiring process. We have to have diversity in that process, and we have to be the ones who choose those officers of color that can come into the police departments and actually be good officers. Of course, we have people who made mistakes. I don't think one person can raise their hand and say that they hadn't had a problem in their life that shouldn't deny them to get in the police department. But when it comes to a brother of color, a sister of color, then if they found that they smoked too many cigarettes or they, you know, or they did something wrong, then they automatically disqualified and not given a chance. That's why it's important for the community to stop saying that, oh, we need to get rid of small municipalities, because these are the only places that young blacks or young Africans of African descent have an opportunity to be policemen. Because if you didn't have those and you try to get in the county and city, you run into major problems.
So with that said, you did mention that you supervised 17 police officers, right?
Yes.
And you just came on as chief about 7 months ago.
Yes.
Of that number, what is the racial composition?
We have all black police department.
Oh, okay
Yes.
then. So,
Yes.
Okay then. What about the crime rate in your municipality? What's up with that?
It fluctuates. We still get the gunshots. We still get the stolen cars.
In
every now and
Northwoods?
then. Yes. But it's very minimal.
Can you hold that thought?
Yes.
We got to go to the last break.
As New Life Evangelistic Center works to get back into the 1411 Locust building, it has first responders that are on the streets day after day. It's helping the hurting and homeless women and children through a wide variety of safe houses, along with homeless veterans and others that are in need, on-the-job training programs, and much more. And all of it's possible because of those of you that are supporting the work of the New Life Evangelistic Center. It's New Life Evangelistic Center that owns and operates NLEC TV, also seen on your set on 24.2. I want to encourage you to have that app put on your phone, NLEC TV. Encourage your family and friends to do the same. And as you support New Life Evangelistic Center and NLEC TV, you're also helping the Zaki Baruti Show and other programs that New Life Evangelistic Center produces. I'm asking you to please continue New Life, keep New Life in your prayers as we're working to be there when people are hurting. There's so many homeless women and children, so many people that are in need. And it's the prayers of caring people like you that make it possible for us to help each and every one of these individuals.
I'm thankful for New Life being here and helping me and my 4 children out. Without them, we'd probably be on the street right now. And it's going to become winter time, and it would be bad. So I'm thankful for New Life Evangelistic Center. I'm thankful for Larry Rice, Pastor Mark, and all the women that's in this program.
And I praise God for all of you that are supporting the work of New Life Evangelistic Center. As she said, yes, the weather is getting cold. Your prayers and gifts are absolutely critical at this time. Please help make a difference in the life of a child and its mother. It's P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. Or go online at nlecstl.org.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. We only have a few more minutes with the history maker, brother Dennis Shireff, police chief, who is the only Islamic police chief in the state of Missouri and maybe in the country. I don't know if you researched
There's
that.
one in Pakistan. He's up in New Jersey.
Oh, okay then.
Yes.
On the other side, we were discussing as it relates to who police our community. So you were saying, so that was number one, the position that our organization take, that police officers ought to reflect the ethnicity of the community in which they work. Is there a mandate for those officers to live within your community?
We have a few officers that live in our community, and they started a program, and I don't know if they're going to continue it. They talked about it, and then they say they're going to dismantle it, but it gives officers the opportunity to buy or purchase property to live in the city. It's a good thing.
Of those 17 officers, how many live in them?
We have about maybe 4 or 5.
4 or 5,
yes,
okay.
Yes.
So the other ones come from outside.
Yes.
What about a civilian review board? I know for small municipalities, that's,
We have a police advisory committee. I can equate that to a civilian review board because they're very critical of how we police. Mm-hmm. And they make sure that they keep up with what we do. And I am a person who I open, I'm very transparent with our board because I like for them to know exactly what we're doing. If it's something goes wrong, whether it's good or bad, I put it out there for them because they're the decision makers, and I don't want them to ever not be able to trust my judgment or my decision making. So I have to be transparent, just like I'm transparent with the people in the community. I have to be transparent with all the people who are voted in by the citizens.
Well, you know what? I would have to on air compliment the alderman and the mayor for hiring you, in that your past has been one of outspokenness.
Yes.
That led to your determination with the
Yes.
St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, and that that you want to actually see reform for our people.
Yes, I definitely want to give my mayor a shout out. She's
And who's
she's
the mayor?
excellent. Her name is Sharon Pace.
Okay.
Sharon Pace and all of the board have been
I might have to give her
supportive
a
of
call.
me. Yes, they have. But one other thing before we leave.
Yeah, we gotta.
I believe that if we can get all of the black chiefs in the black command rank in one room and talk about reform and change, you know how powerful that would be.
Well, make it happen.
Yes, sir.
On that note, you've been listening to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. Like always, I say, if you want to get copies of our past shows, go to YouTube and type in UAPO News World, and also join a progressive organization that speaks truth to power. We say join the Universal African People's Organization. May God bless each and every one of you. Peace.